Okay. So yesterday we had seen that we had seen the definition of what is mobile computing. So we had discussed that mobile computing is accessing the network while on the move. Okay. So we had also seen the difference between mobile computing and wireless networking. So basically we had seen that mobile computing is based on wireless communication. Okay. The two terms are separate. So whereas mobile computing consists of wireless communication, but wireless communication is not the only part. It is one of the ingredients, and there are other ingredients of mobile computing like applications and so on. Okay. Also, we had seen two different types of wireless networks, one based on fixed infrastructure and one without the fixed infrastructure. This was all that was we had covered in yesterday's lecture. So today we are going to discuss about a simple wireless model, okay, how it looks like. Then we are going to see uh, the different components of a wireless communication system. Then we'll look at a simple architecture of a mobile network. And then if we get time, we'll look at the structure of a mobile computing application. Okay. Now all these topics on their own are very important topics from the point of your exam. Okay. Each of these topics could be asked for 8 marks. So some of these things have been done previously in your CN lecture. Okay. So it may be a repetition for some of you if you have if you remember. If you don't remember, then anyways we are doing it again, so you can pay attention. Okay. So let's start. So today, like I told you, we are doing uh, the main topic is the network model along with the components and characteristics of mobile computing. Okay. So in a simplified network model in wireless communication, okay, this is what your model looks like. So we are having a portable device, okay, some portable device. It could be a mobile, it could be a mobile or some portable device, okay, and there is a mobile tower, okay. So communication takes place between these two through air. The medium is the air. So radio waves are used, electromagnetic waves. Okay. So the portable device normally has these 5 layers: the application layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. So there are radio waves that are passed between these two. Okay. Basically, the communication is through air. Then these are known as your intermediate systems, your mobile tower. Okay. And on the fixed network side, you are having some switch or some other device, and these intermediate systems don't require all the layers that your mobile requires. So as you can see here, there are just 3 layers: network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. This in turn, your switch is connected to your public telephone network. Like for example, in our real life, we have a BSNL network, suppose a broadband network or a landline network. So this is that. This represents your public switch network. So again, on the public switch network, you are having 5 layers: application, transport, network, data link, and physical layer. These two communicate through the help of a medium. So normally, as you know, there is a wire that connects your telephone at home to the telephone exchange. So this is that fixed medium. Okay. Yes, the communication happens over some kind of a wire. It does not happen through air. Okay. So this is, now if you are told to explain in exams, explain the simplified network model or simplified reference model. It could be also known as simplified reference model. Then you will have to draw this diagram and basically explain. You're going to explain that The end systems, like this portable device here, requires the full protocol stack. Okay, so full protocol stack, by full protocol stack we mean these 5 layers. And also your computer here, you can imagine that this is a computer at home. Okay, it requires the full protocol stack, whereas the intermediate systems do not require the full protocol stack. Okay, so these intermediate systems basically convert your radio signal into a suitable signal for the wired communication. So converts the wireless signal, which may be in a radio form or electromagnetic signal, into a suitable format for the wired transmission. Okay, so this is the job of the intermediate system. So I just go through all these layers. You know these layers, but I'll just go through them. So in the physical layer, you know that this is the lowest layer in the communication system, and it's responsible for converting a stream of bits into signals that can be transmitted on the sender side. So basically, on the receiver side, the physical layer then again transforms the signals on the into the bits. So suppose this is the sender side, and it will convert the bits into signals. Okay, and then these signals are converted back into bits by this physical layer. This physical layer on the sender side will convert the bits into signal, and then this physical layer here will reconvert the signals into bits if this is the receiver. Then next layer is the data link layer. The main task of the data link layer is managing the access to the medium, multiplexing of the different data, okay, correction of transmission errors, synchronization, maybe detection of a data frame. So it's basically responsible for a reliable point-to-point connection between two devices, or a point-to-multipoint connection between one sender and several receivers. So basically that is the responsibility of the data link layer. And the third layer is the network layer. So it is mostly responsible for routing of packets through a network, or for establishing the connection between two entities over the intermediate systems. Then the next layer is your transport layer. It is mostly used for establishing the end-to-end connection. And finally, we are having the application layer. So all the applications are situated on top of all these layers. Okay. So mostly it provides functions for support for multimedia applications and so on. Or it can handle any large variations in transmission characteristics, or access to the World Wide Web. Okay. So all kinds of applications are situated on the application layer. So basically this is what you will need to explain for your this diagram, that the end systems consist of the full protocol stack, that is these 5 layers. Intermediate systems do not require full protocol stack, may require only these 3 layers. And then you need to explain about each layer in detail. Like I just told you, what is the physical layer responsible for, what is the data link, network and transport layer functionalities. Okay. So any questions about this model? Do you all have any questions about the reference model? Okay, if you have any questions, you can type it out in the chat. I'll proceed to the next slide. Okay. So then, what are the various components? Now I told you there's a transmission that happens between a wireless device and a tower. So what is the various components that are required for this wireless communication? So in the next slide, we're going to see how this communication takes place between a mobile device and the tower. What are the various main components? There may be more components, but what are the main components that are required for this transmission between these two entities, the mobile and the mobile tower? Okay, remember, in mobile computing we'll be referring to the mobile tower also as the base station. So this tower will be many times referred to in future as a base station. So this tower will be known as the base station, and your mobile device will be known as MN, that is mobile node. Okay, and this is, since it is connected to a fixed network. Okay, fixed network means there's a wire here, so it is known as a fixed network. Since this wire is fixed, this may be known as a fixed node or permanent node. So your computer or any device that does not move, is not portable, that may be known as a fixed node or a permanent node, whereas your mobile that moves around or any device that is portable will be known as the mobile node. Okay, and that will be communicating through the base station. So your mobile tower will be known as the base station. Okay, so just try to remember these terms. We'll keep repeating these terms over the entire semester. So now going over to the next slide. Now we are looking at the various components between that a mobile and the base station for wireless communication. Okay, so the first one is a transmitter. Basically, the job of the transmitter is we give an input to the wireless transmitter, that may be a voice, video, data, or other types of signals, and this job of the transmitter is to transmit this data or the voice or the video to distant receivers. Okay, so the signal that is being transmitted by the transmitter will be known as a base band signal. Please remember, base band. So this will be base band signal. So the basic function of the transmitter is to modulate. Okay, modulation means we are having a original data, some original signal. Now if I transmit this original signal over the air or over the medium, that in wireless communication it is air, this signal is very weak. Okay, so the receiver may not be able to hear it. So what we do is I strengthen it with some other signal known as the carrier signal. I add a carrier signal to the original signal, and this process is known as modulation. Okay, so the modulated signal is transmitted by this transmitter. So the job of the transmitter is also to modulate. Okay, mix the original signal with some high frequency carrier signal and to transmit it or encode it. Sometimes we encode several base. Sometimes we are mixing several signals with one carrier signal, so that is known as encoding. Okay, so to make why we do encoding is to make better or more efficient use of the carrier signal, or the carrier signal. So instead of transmitting one signal at a time, we transmit several signals at the individual signals at the same time. So that is how we make better use of the radio spectrum. Okay, so the job of the transmitter is basically, these are the two main functions: modulation and encoding while transmitting your signal. Okay, the second component is the receiver. So the job of the receiver is it receives the modulated signals and reverses the functions of the whatever was done in the transmitter side. that is reversed on the receiver side. So basically, the receiver is having an antenna that is capable of receiving electromagnetic waves radiated from many sources. Okay, so it can receive waves not just from one transmitter but from many sources. So it recognizes from which transmitter it is receiving and decodes the signal. Okay, that is the job of the receiver. Basically, it demodulates or decodes the signal that it receives. The third component of the wireless communication is the antenna. Okay, so the basic function of an antenna is to convert an electric signal from a transmitter. So it converts an electric signal to a radio wave. So if it is the antenna is fixed on a transmitter, then what it does, it will convert an electric signal to a radio wave. Okay, and it does the opposite in a receiver. So if the antenna is fixed on a receiver, then it will convert a radio wave back to a electric signal. So by a radio wave I mean electromagnetic wave. Okay, so there are two different functionalities of the antenna depending on where it is fixed. So if the antenna is fixed on the transmitter side, it will convert an electric signal to a radio wave. If it is fixed on the receiver side, it will convert the radio wave to a electric signal. So there are two main types of antennas that are used. Omnidirectional antenna. Okay, omnidirectional antenna. So basically, omnidirectional antenna means it can receive and transmit the signal over 360 degrees. It can receive or transmit the signal in all the sides 360 degrees. Okay, so this is the first type of antenna. The second type of antenna is directional antenna. So this directional antenna can transmit or receive the signals in a particular direction. Okay, so it is not 360 degrees, only in some particular direction it can receive or transmit. So you can imagine like a flashlight. So when you put on your torch, the torch only propagates light in the direction that you point the torch. So the same way this antenna works. Okay, the directional antenna can receive or transmit in a particular direction. The next component is a filter. So it is a key component and it is present in almost all the transmitters and receivers. They are used to reject interfering signals. Okay, so these transmitters and receivers operate within a certain band. Okay, within a certain frequency. So any signals that are interfering which are outside this band and which are interfering with this transmitter and receiver signals, those interfering signals are rejected by the filter. Okay, they also reject unwanted noise. Any noise that is present and that may interfere with the transmission or receiving is rejected by the filter. So the main job of the filter is to reject interfering signals. The next component is the amplifier. The amplifier's job is to increase the strength of a signal. Okay, so if you don't increase the strength of the signal, then noise will disturb the signal and you won't get the proper signal. You won't be able to hear. Suppose you are doing a call and if there is noise and the signal is weak, then you can't hear. Okay, so the amplifier is used to increase the strength of the signal so that the signal can be transmitted over a longer distance. Okay, then the next component is the mixer. So it is used to convert the frequency at the transmitter and the receiver. Frequency conversion is required because it is advantageous to transmit the signal at a higher frequency. Okay, like I told you, transmitter does modulation. So while you do modulation, that is, you take the original signal and you mix it with the carrier signal. This signal is known as modulated signal. So this modulated signal is normally at a high frequency. We use high frequency here. So if this original signal may be any signal, it may be low frequency or anything, but this modulated signal is always at a, we prefer a high frequency signal. Okay, so why we use a high frequency signal is, there are some reasons. One is high frequency signals are less susceptible to noise. Okay, so normally noise is, they are not affected by noise. Also the transmission, therefore the transmission range increases and the received quality signal is improved. And the other reason for using a high frequency modulated signal is you can mix many signals, you can have many original signals or baseband signals that can be mixed into one carrier signal when you use a high frequency modulated signal. Okay, so the two reasons for using high frequency signal is, first reason is noise is reduced. Second reason is you can have multiple baseband signals that can be modulated. Okay, so these are the main components of your wireless communication system. The transmitter is basically used to transmit. Receiver will, main function of the transmitter is modulation and encoding. Receiver will receive the modulated and or encoded signal and do the opposite. So it will demodulate and decode. Antenna will be fixed on the transmitter and receiver. Can be of two types: omnidirectional or directional. Omnidirectional means 360 degrees. Directional means in a particular direction. Filter, the main job is to remove the interfering signal or noise. Amplifier increases the strength of the signal so that it can be transmitted over a larger distance. And mixer is present at the transmitter and receiver. Its main job is to mix the original signal with a high frequency signals so that noise is reduced and also multiple signals can be modulated with a carrier signal. Okay, so any questions about this components of a wireless communication system? No, Yash. Mixers are used on both the sides. Okay, so on the transmitter side, if the mixers are used, they will be used to you can say like modulate several baseband signals into one carrier signal and get one signal. So on the receiver side, they are also used to demodulate. Does the antenna need to be of the same type in both transmitter and receiver? Yeah, need not be exactly. Depends on the application. Okay. Suppose there are some applications where you need to transmit in only a particular direction, then you can have the transmitter as a directional antenna, and then on the receiver side, then depending on where it is located, maybe on a mountain, depends on the topography, the geography of the location of the receiver. Depending on all those factors, you can have, depends basically on the application. So to answer your question, it need not be of the same type. You could have different types of antennas at the transmitter and receiver. So it depends on many factors like your location, the type of application, and the strength of the signal, and so on.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Uh, Pranav, mixer is basically used to modulate, like, okay, it will take several original signals and put them onto a carrier signal, and filter is used to remove the noise or interfering signal. Like I told you, the transmitter and receiver function at a certain band. Okay, you must have heard these terms like frequency spectrum and all. In if you have heard of the scams in the past and all. So just for example, I'm taking this. Say it is operating in this frequency, say between 30 and 50 hertz. Say the government has allowed this for radio transmission. Okay, say so the transmitter and receiver, this signal has to be transmitted within this. Okay, so you know this transmission is happening over air. Okay, this is not in a wire, it is happening over air. So some noise that is present here in this outside this, now this is the band at which the transmitter and receiver is functioning. Any signals that are there outside this may interfere with this signal. Okay, these signals, so signals, yes, these other signals are used by other people. Okay, maybe military, or I'm just saying. Okay, so say they are used by some other people for other purposes. Okay, so these signals here may interfere with this signal which is being transmitted and received. So the job of the filter is to stop this interference, to stop this interference from happening, or to remove any noise that is present. Okay, so that is the main job of the filter. Mixer, no, mixer is just mixing, it is just adding the two signals. It is not the same as amplifier, it is not increasing the strength of the signal. Amplifier is increasing the strength of the signal. Mixer is just adding many signals into one carrier signal. Okay, so there are several original signals that have to be transmitted, so it is just adding all those to a high frequency signal, and then the amplifier increases. The amplifier may be not be located at the same location as the transmitter. Okay, the amplifier may be, say, at a particular the transmitter may be at a particular location, and the amplifier may be at a different location. Okay, so say, just for example, this is your transmitter, it transmits the signal, and your receiver is here. Okay, the original transmission range may be only till here. Okay, so your amplifier could be located here, it could also be located with the transmitter. Okay, so what the amplifier does, it will take this original signal and increase the strength of it, so it can be transmitted over a larger distance. So amplifier could be placed either with the transmitter, okay, if it helps, otherwise it could be also placed somewhere else, and then it will increase the strength so that it reaches the receiver. Like I told you, Prathamesh, the main use of the mixer is to uh, modulate. It is doing the frequency conversion between the transmitter and the receiver. Okay, and when it does the frequency conversion, it is doing modulation. So basically, transmitting the signal at a means it is mixing the signal. It's taking the original signal and mixing it so that it can be transmitted at a higher frequency.
So that means it is not increasing the strength of it. In other terms, like
Not,
if we say,
it is only converting it to a higher frequency signal. The
to
amplifier,
transmit at a larger distance, like.
yeah, a higher frequency signal. Like I told you, higher frequency signal. See, let me try to tell you this. What is the difference between amplifier and a mixer? See, what is mixer is doing? It is taking one signal. It's taking this original signal. It's taking this original signal. This original signal will normally be at a lower frequency. Okay, Now, if you send this lower frequency signal, okay, then there is noise on the way, there is noise or there is interference. What will happen? This signal will weaken. This signal will weaken, and when it reaches to the receiver, you will get garbage. Means you will not, you won't be able to hear, or you won't be able to identify what is the data. Okay, so if you send a low frequency signal, so what this mixer does, it takes this original signal, adds it with high frequency, adds it with a high frequency signal. So when the high frequency signal is transmitted, okay, this noise and interference don't affect a high frequency signal that much. Okay, it don't affect the high frequency signal that much. It affects, I'm not saying it does not affect, it affects, but it does not affect compared to a low frequency signal. So that is the job of a mixer. Take this original signal, add it to a high frequency carrier signal. So there is one carrier signal, so that will be a high frequency signal. You will add it and you will transmit this over a distance. Now if you transmit this without amplifying, what will happen? Like I told you, when you are transmitting this signal without amplifying, it may not reach to the receiver if the receiver is far away, located at a long distance, at a larger distance. So that is the job of the amplifier. The amplifier takes this signal and increases the strength so that it reaches the receiver. Okay.
Okay, sir.
I hope you all got the difference between what amplifier is doing and what a mixer is doing. And the filter's job is to stop this interference. What is happening in between, this noise is there. So its job is to stop that interference. That is the job of the filter. Okay. Yes, this you need to just know this basics of all these components. Okay. So I hope you all have understood. Is it okay, everyone? I think you all have all understood now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay then. So let me move on to the next slide. Just let me know when it's 12:45, okay? Because there's a short break between your lectures. So if I continue, because I can't see the time on when a slide is full slide. So please let me know when it's 12:45. Okay. So continuing. Next, we'll look at a simple architecture of a mobile telecommunication system. Okay. Now I know this diagram is slightly blurred, but just try to see. Later on, when I'll come to class, I will give you the textbook. You can take a photo. I don't know, somehow from my camera it's come blurred. Okay. So basically, this is the simple architecture of your mobile telecommunication system. Okay. So this is what we had seen. So this is what actually is there in that diagram also. Okay. This is your mobile. This is your base station or a mobile tower. So I'll just show you in that diagram where it is. There's a mobile, there's a base station. Okay. Then we had a network. Okay. This was your landline network. Like I told you, your BSNL telephone exchange. So this is also there here. This is your BSNL telephone exchange. Okay. It is known as a PSTN. PSTN stands for Public Switch Telephone Network. So basically, a BSNL in India we know it as a telephone exchange. So in all your telecommunication books, it will be known as PSTN, Public Switched Telephone Network. Okay. So this public switched telephone network is normally connected to a subscriber database. Basically, all your the telephone subscribers, wireless or wired, all the database will be there, and that is basically your subscribers, whoever is using that service. Okay. Then we will be having something known as a MSC. So basically, a MSC is nothing but a mobile switching center. Okay. So it is a mobile switching center. So whenever a communication has to take place between between mobiles, okay, so it will be taking place to the MSC. So basically, it will connect the calls between the subscribers. Okay, so it will connect the calls between the subscribers. So the MSC will be basically controlling all the operations in the mobile network. Okay, and this MSC will be, there could be one or more MSCs depending on the number of subscribers. Okay, so it is responsible for call setup or receiving voice calls or SMSs or other services like fax and so on. Okay. So any communication that has to take place between a mobile and a landline, like this is your landline, okay, that will be done through the help of a MSC. Any calls to be done from one mobile to another mobile, again the MSC will be controlling it. Okay. Basically, the base stations are all controlled. Your mobile towers are all controlled by the MSC. Your MSC, like I told you, the full form is Mobile Switching Center. Okay, so that it is stationed between a base. It is positioned between a base station and your PSTN or your telephone exchange. Okay, and it is responsible for handling all the communication between mobiles and the landlines or between mobile to a mobile. So basically it handles all the, or it controls all the base stations. Okay, now any time you see this, a communication in a mobile takes place with the help of the two most common components will be the mobile and the base station. Now the range of a base station will be in a hexagonal shape. Okay, the range of a base station tower or your mobile tower will be always in the shape of a hexagonal. Okay, this hexagonal shape is known as a cell. Basically, what is a cell? It is the range of your mobile tower. It's the range of your base station. Okay, so most of the times you will see that your cell is in the shape of a hexagon. Okay, now some of you, or the most common question that you will have, why is this cell, this is your mobile tower, so why you are having only a hexagonal shape? Okay, why is the range of a mobile tower in the shape of a hexagon? Now remember, when we are drawing it in our books, we are drawing it as a perfect hexagon. Okay, now in real life it need not be a perfect hexagon, it could be some other kind of polygon shape. Okay, but normally the shape will be of a hexagonal shape. It won't be a rectangular shape, it won't be a triangular shape for sure, or it won't be a square. Okay, it will be somewhere close to a hexagon. Okay, so why it is preferred, why this hexagonal shape is preferred? Okay, now like I told you, what is this hexagonal shape thing known as? It is known as a cell. What is the cell? Basically it is the range of your mobile tower. Please remember what I'm saying. Okay, what is this cell? It is the range of your mobile tower. Okay, so why is it hexagonal shape? Now I'm answering that question. Okay, so basically because it has a larger area, a hexagon has a larger area than a square or a triangle. Okay, so and also when you're using hexagons, you can see there is no overlapping. Okay, whereas when if you use triangular shape or a square, there could have been overlapping maybe. Okay, so one of the reasons will be that it is covering a larger area and there is no overlapping. So this cell, one cell is not overlapping with another cell. Okay, and we can cover a larger geographical area using hexagon since they cover a larger area. So we require less cells. Remember, there is a cost involved in setting up mobile towers. So we want a mobile tower to cover as much possible area as possible, and we want as many less towers to be set up as possible. So that is achieved with the help of a hexagonal shape. You can cover more area with less cells. Whereas we use triangles maybe or squares, you would require the same more number of triangles or more number of squares to cover the same area. So another reason that we use hexagonal shape is because like I told you, the antennas that may be fixed here is omnidirectional. So omnidirectional means 360 degrees, like I told you, 360 degrees antenna. So when it is transmitting in 360 degrees means there is a circular fashion, like all the directions here radiating the signal. So that is more closely represented with a hexagonal shape. So circular transmission of the antenna is more closely represented with this hexagonal shape than with the help of a triangle or with the help of a rectangle or a square. So this 360 omnidirectional antennas, the shape of these antennas is more closely represented with a hexagonal shaped cell. Okay, these are the two main reasons that we use a hexagonal shaped cell. Okay, so what are those two? Like I told you, first is they cover more geographical area. Okay, then therefore since they cover more geographical area, therefore less cells are required to cover that geographical area compared to triangles or squares. The second reason is the omnidirectional antennas, the shape of that radiation, that 360-degree radiation of those antennas is more closely represented with the help of a hexagon than with the help of a triangle or a square. Okay, so these are the two main reasons why we use in all your diagrams in the textbooks, any textbooks that you see, you will be seeing hexagon cell, shaped cell, rather than a triangle or a square or a rectangle. Okay, so I hope I made myself clear why it is in the shape of a hexagon. So again, I'm just repeating for your sake so that it goes into your mind before I tell you how this works. Okay, so in order for communication, what is a cell? Basically, what is a cell? It is the range of the mobile tower. Okay, then we are having, what are the other components of the architecture? We are having a telephone exchange, which is known as PSTN, Public Switch Telephone Network, which is connected to a subscriber database and which is in turn connected to a mobile switching center. So mobile switching center is responsible for handling all the communication between the mobiles and the fixed landlines, of controlling all the base stations under it. So one MSC could be responsible for many base stations, or it could be responsible for controlling the communication between many base stations, or it would be, in other words, responsible for handling many cells. Okay. So let me go through this architecture now. So like I told you, the coverage area is structured into hexagonal cells. In each hexagonal cell, one base station is located. Okay. There are two types of radio channels that are used for communication between a base station and a mobile. Okay. So the two types of channels, one channel is known as a control channel and the second channel is the voice channel. So control channels are used for transmitting control messages between the mobile and the base station. Okay. So control channels are used for control messages. Second type of channel is known as the voice channel, and voice channel will be basically used for transmitting your data or your voice messages, that is whatever you talk. Okay. Control messages will be maybe to set up the connection between or connect your mobile to the base station. Sometimes when you lose your range and all, those will be your handled to your control channel, and all your communication, your voice messages, your SMSs will be handled to the voice channel. Okay. So your control channel uses mostly frequency shift keying, okay, FSK, and your voice channel uses frequency modulation. So most of the times these are the commonly used type of schemes in these channels. Okay. Now as can be seen in this figure, I told you there's one net, these are all connected to each other. Okay. So this is known as the core network. The core network is mostly connected through fiber optic cables. This entire thing here, connection is done through fiber optic cables. Okay. Sometimes in some terrain, if it's not possible to put a fiber optic cable, then we may use microwave communication. Okay. So this connection allows all these entities that are mentioned here to exchange information. Okay. To exchange information. So the MSC, like I told you, is responsible for allowing the mobiles to connect to the landlines. Okay. So here, as suppose a mobile is making a call to a landline. So as you know, any call to a landline will go to a telephone exchange. The mobile switching network is responsible for connecting the mobile through this air. This medium is the air, radio wave is responsible for connecting it to the landline through the fiber optic. Now the connection will happen through this fiber optic cable, and there will be some landline telephone here. So through the telephone exchange it will be happening. So this is the responsibility of your mobile switching network. So basically it is responsible for transmitting voice calls, SMS, etc. Okay. It also maintains a database of all the subscribers, and it can also control all other information like billing information and so on. So basically it is responsible for call setup, okay, real-time prepaid billing, account monitoring. Okay. Suppose you have reached at the end. Suppose just for example, say this cell is say Margao. Okay, this cell is say Margao. And at the end of Margao, you know, there is one place known as say Naveli. Okay, Naveli. So as you know, as your mobile goes from Margao to Naveli, you notice that your range does not go. Okay. Automatically, if your whatever is your range, that range remains. 1 or 2 bars may go, but normally your range does not go completely. Okay, normally, unless you go to some location where there is no towers. So this, there is one base tower here. There is one base tower here. There is another base tower that is located in Naveli. So there is one base tower in Margao. There is one base tower in Naveli. So this transition here, as long as it was inside this cell, this mobile was controlled by, or it could connect to this Margao tower. Okay. The moment it goes to Naveli, the same mobile, the mobile communication has to be handled by the Navelian tower. So how it happens automatically, that handling is done, the transfer of this mobile from the Margaon tower to the Navelim tower is done through this MSC. Okay, the mobile switching center is responsible for transferring the control from one cell to another cell. So as you move across your locations, okay, the mobile communication duty is handled to the next tower within that cell. So that call setup or whatever transferring the transfer, it is known as handover. So you are handing over the control from this tower to the next tower. So as your mobile goes to from one cell to another, so this is known as inter-cell handover. Okay, from one cell you're going to the other cell, so it is known as inter-cell handover. This handover is handled by MSC. We'll be learning about this more in detail later. So right now you just need to know this much. Okay, what is the shape of the cell? Okay, basically the shape of the cell is hexagonal. Why it is hexagonal? How many base stations are there in each cell? There is one base station in each cell. What is the function of the mobile switching center? Main function of the mobile switching center is to connect the mobiles, okay, to the landline, or to connect the mobiles to another mobile. Okay, basically, and it also handles all the base stations. The mobile switching center also connected to a subscriber database, okay, which contains all the details about the subscribers. Mobile switching center could also contain details to help real-time prepaid billing or account monitoring, etc. And the public switch telephone network is also connected to the subscriber database and the MSC with the help of fiber optic cable. So basically that is all fiber optic cable here.
So it's 12:45 p.m.
Okay. Yes. So any questions about this before I stop? Anyone has any questions about this? No, yes, they won't interfere because they are placed sufficiently far away. Okay. That's why you can see that when you reach the end of the area, when you're far away from the tower, you don't get that much range in your mobile. Okay. So unless as you reach the edge of the cell, you don't get a lot of range. That's why the signal is weakens as you reach further away from the base station. So this base station is normally not a small area like 100 or 200 meters. Okay, one tower can handle, depending on the setting of the tower, one tower can handle a big area. So like you can see, normally no company puts a tower every 100 or 200 meters like your electricity poles. Okay, so your once a tower is fixed, depending on the number of subscribers, it can handle a pretty good area. Okay, and as you reach at the further and further away from that tower, the signal weakens. So there's very less chances of the signal interfering. There will be some interference, but that signal that interferes will be weak. So at the end of the cells, at the edge of the cells, you won't get that much signal, and that's why you have these problems. Like you say, I'm further away from the tower, and you notice these problems. Okay? We always face these problems when you're not close to the tower. You don't live in a locality close to a tower. There's no tower in your locality. In your communication, you must have noticed you don't get proper. You cannot speak properly. Okay, so when you're further from the tower, the signal is weaker, and there will be interference. I'm not saying they won't interfere, but it will be like noise. Anyways, you don't get a good reception when you're further away from the tower. Yes. So I think there were some more things to be done, but we'll do it in tomorrow's lecture. Tomorrow morning we are having a lecture at 9. So I'll stop the recording and we can also stop stop the lectures. You can go further, prepare yourselves for the next lecture. Okay. Thank you for attending, and see you all tomorrow morning. I'll continue with our topic tomorrow. Okay. Please remember whatever was told. I'll upload the videos and send you the links on WhatsApp or on the classroom. Okay. And the PPTs also.